everybody, Scuffy here. I'm going to try this a second time. I just did a video for Redloss, and for some reason I'm still working through the kinks here. Technology with the new recording stuff is not quite working, so it didn't record very well. I had a lot of lag. Audio was fine, video was not so fine, so we're trying this a second time. We're going to talk about Farith Redloss. I'm going to try to do this a little bit quicker, because I think I rambled a few times in my other video. Farith Redloss was just added to the game last week. He was the 4th warlord that we chose from the event. I'm very happy that he was added, and all the lodges that were in the top 10 received a copy of Farith Redloss a few days ahead of the shop. Then they did a weekend deal, and then eventually he was in the shop just yesterday. So he may not be back in the shop anytime soon. However, if you picked up Redloss, or if you're going to pick up Redloss in an event crate, or if you just won him down the road, let's say it's another 4 or 5 months from this video, and you finally got Farith Redloss and you want to try out Dark Angels, I'm hoping that this deck is for you. So please take a look. Let me know what you think. And let's get into it. So Farith Redloss is the commander of the Dreadwing. And we've got a couple games here we can show that kind of highlight what he does and how he does it. Let's start off with a game against Santar. So Farith Redloss, he's got an ability that deals damage. And that's one thing that I really like about him, is he's got this option to deal damage to a troop or to a warlord and then to an adjacent unit. So it's not targeted, it's random damage, but it's going to allow you to help control the board to an extra degree, and that's very nice. That's very important. I like warlords who have got options like that, who've got abilities like that. Now his startup is going to be a little slow, but then he really shines with these Dark Angels troop. This deck is very Dark Angels centric. There are a couple of non-Dark Angels cards, such as Ambassador Melgator, but for the most part it really is Dark Angels driven. And it's designed around the Hexagrammaton. The whole point is to set up very easily, might I add, set up a good 3-troop combo to pull with Hexagrammaton. Right away you're looking at Troop 1, Astrovel. Just a fantastic epic. Gives +1/+1 on Zerali, and then he's also got that battle honor. It makes him an immediate threat. I kind of was baiting out. I forgot about the shield here as a counterattack option, but at the same time I'm glad I got rid of that. Got rid of that troop there, and we can put some bodies on the board. We've got Eschaton Imperative, which is just another good Dark Angels card. I like the fact that it's got that secondary effect, which is just for Dark Angels. So if my opponent happens to copy that card, they'll get a 2 damage across the board effect, but they're not going to get that cost reduction unless they're a Dark Angels player. There's a couple other cards that work like that. Hexagrammaton is another example. If they had Hexagrammaton, okay, it's not going to do you any good. This card will be a dead card in your hand the entire game. Good for you. I picked up Ramiel in the shop when he was in there yesterday, and I found the deck immediately got better, and that shouldn't say too much because Ramiel's just really strong, but I like the fact, because I think before I was kind of struggling, especially in a couple of matchups I had against other Dark Angels or Redloss players. If they played their Ramiel and they hit the board, I was kind of, that was it for me. So I like the fact that I have him now, and he works very well with this deck. I'm going to keep a lot of troops on the board because I'm really concerned about him hitting me with like a double Winnow of the Week. And he hits me with defensive satellites, which is kind of just about the same thing here with his ability. So I didn't bait out any Winnows. I'm gonna chance it. I'm gonna go hard and heavy. We're gonna drop the Knight's Cenobium. I figure he's likely going to be a target of a tactic if he doesn't play Winnow of the Week, and we'll go that route. And I was surprised here that he didn't do that, so I'll take it. Use my Deathwing Protocol, and let's start to get some damage up there now. Santar is not out of it by a long shot with the Iron Hands and all the healing that they can do, but at this point I feel pretty good. He's not going to drop a front line, and he could play Win of the Week, and then he could play that 6-cost front line, but he doesn't have it, and he's going to go ahead and finish the game here. And this deck didn't do much more than play the 5-drop. It played, Astrovel, and then it played some other troops, and that's all it did behind it. Didn't even get to see the Hexagrammaton come to light. Let's find another game where we did get the Hexagrammaton to come to light here. I think I had captured Mandragorax. Now this is a warlord against captured Mandragorax, who's actually got board suppression ability. It's not a fantastic opening hand on the surface, but that's actually the exact 3 cards I want to have in my hand. I'm not complaining about that at all. I don't want to go fishing for those. This is going to be great. The downside is I've got to endure for the time being. I've got to see, is he going to be attacked as Mandragorax, or is he going to draw troops? And I'm hoping he doesn't have troops, because that's going to throw off the pacing of my game a lot. But as I mentioned, Capture Mandragorax is a troop suppression warlord. So in this game here, I'm really kind of concerned about putting out troops, and he's just going to be able to whittle and chew away. Thankfully, I have got 2 of these in my hand, so if he whittles them away, that feeds into my Hexagrammaton, right? From 1 from each wing. I've got a Dreadwing, I've got a Ravenwing, and I've got a Deathwing. I've got other Deathwing in the deck as well. I've got a couple other Ravenwing in the deck. When it comes to Dreadwing, that's it. That's my only Dreadwing. I'm going to give it Stealth to try to minimize the potential of him playing cards and getting rid of Astrovel too early. I want to be able to deal damage. And it's looking like he doesn't have any troops, so that's a good thing for me, that I'm going to be able to make that work. Get a little extra damage in there while I can. Combo it with the Onyx Saber, deal more damage. And that's going to draw some heat from him, force him to put some tactics in there. That's an acceptable loss. I actually kind of want to lose Onyx. I'm not worried about that. I should play Ramiel, but I hold on to him in this game, and I want you to see how high he gets at the end of the game. It's a little ridiculous. At the same time, it's also really awesome, so I'll take it. I figure he's got a lot of tactics, so choosing that quest is a smart choice. Conditional heal, why not? Pays off here. I'm going to gain some health back. Now, Redloss does not. In this particular deck, it's a little bit slower deck, so it's very susceptible to aggressive decks, aggro decks, rush decks, high damage tactics decks. The game you have to play is a lot faster at that point. You've got to get your bodies on the board. You may not be able to rely upon getting to 10 energy enough to win the game. Now, thankfully, there's a lot of frontline in this deck, so that can help to some degree. But if you're dealing with troops or warlords who are dealing direct damage to your warlord, that can be problematic. So, something to keep in mind. Using Melgator here a little bit more on the creative end of things, but I'm still going to deal damage. I want to keep this health ratio very close, because if he's able to drop a couple widespread damage or a orbital bombardment, that could wrap things up quickly. But we've hit the magic number. We've hit 10. We're ready, we're cooking. But I want to double dip. I want to get a little bit juicier, because at this point I'm feeling good. I want to see how high I can get that Praetor. I want to get more troops on the board. I want to broaden the chance that he doesn't just hit me with something gnarly that I can't recover from. Sabotage. That's the worst that can happen to Astrovel, then I'm okay. Still a very close game though. So in just that instance, that's a good example of why I was glad I played him, because otherwise he's going to dump all these tactics into my troop, into my warlord. He just wasted like 3 cards plus his warlord ability to get rid of this one troop. He's only got 3 left in hand. It's time. It's time for me to deliver the lesson. And again, there's our Dreadwing, there's a Ravenwing, there's our Deathwing, or vice versa, a Dreadwing, Raven Guard, Deathwing. Yeah, let's pump him up, and let's deal some damage. And we'll keep our warlord off the board. Praetor is at 9 attack, guys. That's one reason why I put the Onyx Saber on this side, so that it wouldn't be easier for him to destroy my frontline stuff. Praetor is at 9. Let's see if we can get him up a little bit higher, for just because. Yeah, it's a little bonkers. That's the game, and that's how this works. That's how the Hexagrammaton works. That's how you can get it to work for you. Now, taking a look at the deck here, let's take a better look at this deck. I feel like it's a very rare intensive deck. There are a lot of epics. I have not too many legendaries, but I do have faction specific legendaries. As I mentioned, Praetor Ramiel, huge improvement to this deck. Deathwing Companions is nice. Peligore and Ramiel are by far more important. And then I've got a lot of epics in here. I've got Adravian Moors, I've got Asteroid Belt. You have to have Astrovel. If you don't have Astrovel, then you want to play Redloss a different way. You can certainly play Hexagrammaton with him, but then you want to look at your Dreadwings, and maybe you want to go with Operator Decor, or perhaps another Dreadwing troop such as the Zacharine or the Dreadwing Proctors, those two guys. So there's other options there, but Astrovel just makes this work so much easier because I'm a Astartes driven. I've got a couple vehicles in here, not a whole lot. Now this is a quick shout out. I almost forgot. I did this in the messed up video recording. I didn't get a chance to do that in this one just yet. This deck here, the idea started. I was just messing around with Astrovel, Redloss, Dark Angels in general, Hexagrammaton. Alex87 in my lodge pitched the idea around the same time and actually doubled down on the refining of the Hexagrammaton. I think he did a really good list that kind of helped me guide in that direction. And I think the last couple of days we've been kind of bouncing back ideas and kind of sharing ideas. He's got a slightly different build. I think he uses Lord Malkarian. I use the Asteroid Belts. I think he's got supply lines for some of these lower costs for these guys here. But the idea of getting Astrovel as your only Dreadwing, and then a small pool of Ravenwing, and then just a bunch of Deathwing, that's really his idea. And then we've kind of refined it. And I put 2 Eschaton Imperatives. I think he's got 2 in his deck here. I'm not sure what his current version looks like, but I think all of these work. He doesn't use Escape Vent. I like Escape Vent. I think that just, in the games that I've had to use it, it can come in very handy just for a turn. That sometimes that's all I need, especially if I can put that on Astrovel and keep him alive so that he can play out his battle honor. Brothers in Arms is another great idea. That was Alex's suggestion. I totally overlooked this card, but as a first turn, if this is in my opening hand, it guarantees I'm going to get Astrovel because he's the only Dreadwing in my deck. I can choose my Dreadwing. I'm going to draw him, and he's going to have +1/+1, so that's a strong card. So I really like that. I really like how these cards all come together. And as I said, I like how so many of these cards are Dark Angels driven. My opponent can copy them, steal them, various means or whatever, but he's not going to get the same benefit that he would get if he isn't a Dark Angels player. Right? If he's not a Dark Angels player, he's not going to gain all the wonderful things, all the extra additives, and he's not going to gain the Cleave 2 because he's not going to have Deathwing. this counterattack only works for Dark Angels cards. If he copies that with like Amon or something like that, I mean, it's just really nice. It's a really nice addition. If they copy Hexagrammaton, that's a dead card in their hand. Here is a game where this board suppression comes in handy, because normally, you know, Zahario wants to build up his troops. He wants to build them up so that he can play strategic mastery. But I've got a warlord who can essentially ping 2-to-1 damage on all of his troops and force him to attack with them. They can't sit back. They're going to get damaged. I'm not just dealing one damage to one troop. I'm dealing damage to all of his troops. And if I'm forcing my opponent to play differently than they want to, that is an advantage for me. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. That's the thought process behind that. In games like that, you are at an advantage. The minute you have to shift your play because of your opponent, then they are at a disadvantage. And I'm actually hoping he attacks with these guys, because this Eschaton Imperative is looking pretty juicy. I like the change to this card. In my Nemiel deck, I only use one of these. In this deck, because there's so many Dark Angels troops, it is much more effective. And I was so happy that he did that. Talking about what he's doing here, yeah, I'm going to get 2. I'll take it. I'll take the 2. That's going to work. That's working for me really nicely. Plus, you don't want those Jaegers to stick around. Nothing is more problematic than Jaegers. I'm not going to play the Adravian Moors, though, because he's got troops on the board. I've got a little cheaper Astrovel. I want to take it. I'm surprised that he dropped that early. I guess he's looking to throw down a large body. Okay, fair enough. With my Warlord ability and the Swift Wrath Speeder, I can actually deal with that fairly easily. So, no loss. But you know what else is nicer? Just dealing 5 damage to it. Here's a Dreadwing. He needs a Dreadwing to deal 3 extra damage. Sure, I'll trade you your 7/5 for my 7/5. Now, I was a little concerned that he would have his special card and then deal his attack against Astrovel, but he didn't have enough energy for that. He didn't play a drill sight. That would have been upsetting if he would have done that, but he didn't. And that actually bought me a lot of time. I'm glad I held on to this little guy with Cleave 2. Felt like I knew exactly what I was doing with that, because I knew he was going to drop some bodies. And then we're going to board suppress with my Warlord's ability. It doesn't matter who I ping, I'm going to clear off that last Jaeger. And the best thing he can hope to do is drop 1 Jaeger and do a behind enemy lines. Instead, he's going for the breach. I think I chose the wrong option there. I was hoping to deal damage to the Warlord, but that's okay. We've got a low-cost Cenobium. I do hold off on that, I think, because I'm worried about Irresistible Charisma. At this point, I want to be very careful of the troops that I'm playing, right? So he used a special attack there. I think that's a smart move. But I do want to be careful of the troops I'm playing because of that Irresistible Charisma. So I don't want to drop an 11. That's too easy. I'll drop an 8 instead. Like if I take 8 and 10 damage, I can still be alive. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, good sir. And we'll deal with that. And that is, as they say, good game. And if I did have the chance, I would play Escape Vent on my Knight Cenobium if I had to play him at that point, just to hopefully dodge the Irresistible Charisma. So that is Farith Redloss, guys. I'm having fun with him. I don't have as many games as I would like to have had. I started playing a lot of Iron Hands over the weekend following their patch update to try to get a feel for the changes in the card pool. So I am a little bit behind in my Redloss games. I'd like to have, a few more games under here, but at the same time, I'm having a good experience. I'm having positive vibes, and I'm really glad that he's added to the game and he brings something different. and new to the Dark Angels. Now, quick shout out before I go. Forbidden Secret, there is an issue with Forbidden Secret and how it interacts with Redloss. I did not build a deck around that because Phil Carey reported it. He's one of the players on the Discord. He reported it, and a couple other people were discussing it. It's not intended to work that way, which is unfortunate, but it was an easy way for him to achieve a Secret of War. I would have liked for that to have been the case, because it would actually make this card interesting, give us different ways to play it versus just one with Core Swain. So yeah, I left that out, and I don't miss it. I don't include that in Redloss. I don't think this particular build needs it. If you're looking to play with this deck, or Redloss in general, and you don't have some of these cards, because as I mentioned, there's a lot of epics, there's a lot of legendaries, consider Operator Decor, or a Raven Wing with the Hunt Them Down. Instead of going with the Hexagrammaton, go with the Raven Wing and go with the Dread Wing and beef it up that way, and just focus on 2 specific wings, giving yourself some extra healing, because I think that's something that this deck still needs, especially if you're going to go anywhere to a medium late game. He's aggressive, but he's not aggressive enough. There's not a lot of troops here that deal damage on a rally. They all have to survive to do something, so having healing is handy to have. I think Silent Death could be useful, or some stun removal might not be a bad idea. Also, in capitalizing with his spread damage ability, you might want to consider an Informant Network or an Artillery Strike. For 6 damage, you could do 2 to 3 damage across the board. But if you're on that route, again, Eschaton Imperative is 1 energy higher and does a lot more for you. So it's something worth considering. If you don't have Eschaton Imperative, then yeah, Artillery Strike is a good way to go. It's a little bit cheaper, but it's a little bit more controlled who it's going to hit versus Defensive Satellites. And that's it. So I hope this has been useful. I hope this has been a little bit interesting. If you're looking to try out a new Warlord, if you're new to the game, if you're new to Dark Angels, there are over 100 Warlords in the game at this point, guys. It's a lot of options to choose from. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. And I hope this has been educational for you, exciting, intriguing for you. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you're playing Redloss, how is he working for you? How effective is he for you? Are you playing him differently? Are there other cards that you're using that you're finding a lot more success with? Are you doing a questing Redloss? Are you playing him with not a lot of Dark Angels, more tactic driven? He could very easily be a tactic driven Warlord, but I think he works well with troops, and I really enjoy the way his ability combos with Eschaton Imperative, as well as just helping make battle honors for Astrovel a little bit easier. I think it works. I think it works very well. So let me know what you think, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel and you like this video, please subscribe, or at least give me a like. Let me know that you are enjoying the content. Share it with anybody who you know. Most importantly, guys, keep playing Legions, and until next time, we'll talk to you later. All right, bye.